Okay, I did a quick little test outside with some violent wind at 40 yards with the Daisy 35, and as you can see, I've got the Weaver rail there on the 11mm, and then I've just got a 4x32 scope up there. It's a Beeman. So what I did is I pumped the rifle up 5 times, and I'll show you here. And what I was using was the Meisterkoolgan 8.2 wad cutter. So it's 5 pumps at 40 yards, really violent wind, 4x scope. So the results are, on the first one here, what I got was 70% of the shots were 2 inches center to center. And if you took all the shots together, it was 4 inches center to center. So if you look right here, the majority of the shots are going in here, right within this zone right here. So 2 inches center to center. And then I did it again. Remember, it's a violent wind, and it's a smoothbore, which kind of impressed me that a smoothbore would even do something like this. But that's why you do testing in real conditions, to find out what it's going to do. So what we got here, a little bit worse on this one. 70% of the shots are 4 3/4 inch center to center groups, and all of them was 6. So if you look up here, I had this one here, and then this one way down here. But if you look at 60% of the shots now, 60% of the shots right here would be good for like a pop can, or even 70% of the shots. And all you would have to do is move your click value over just a little bit so that most of the shots are surrounding that aim point right there. And you could still have a can killer at 40 yards. So anyway, not too bad for the rifle's $35, and gosh, what 4x32 scope on Amazon. I mean, some of these scopes you can get for, gosh, I think like $20 or something. So what is that? $35, $45, $55. You can have something that'll knock out a can at 40 yards, and that's why these are great rifles for kids. Although it doesn't have a rifled barrel, it's a smoothbore. But this 8.2 Meisterkoolgan is kind of a longer type wad cutter. Excuse me. So any smoothbore is going to like lengthier pellets, like lengthier round nose, lengthier wad cutters, because of the simple reason that lengthy objects that go through the air that don't have a twist are usually more accurate than stubby ones are. Stubby ones will tumble. So that's why you want to feed this rifle some lengthier pellets. Now you might have good results with shorter pellets at shorter distances, or maybe fewer pumps, but when you start getting out further and stuff like that, you could see some different results with the short ones versus the long ones. So typically the lengthier ones are better for longer range, but it depends on your gun, how it's performing. Even though it's a smoothbore, every smoothbore is different too, just like every rifle barrel. So, but I thought I'd show that to you today. So the Daisy 35 with just a cheap 4x32 scope, pop cans at 40 yards, it's doable. 5 pumps, I would recommend 5 pumps, so you can have a flatter trajectory. And there's less time for that pellet to move because it's going faster too. So sometimes velocity helps, and at other times too much velocity doesn't help. So you want to find that sweet spot in velocity at 40 yards by changing up your pumps and finding out which pumps work better, which pumps work worse. So that's one thing people forget about pellets, is sometimes they're fussy with velocity. Sometimes they're fussy with distance, and you have to do some tests at different distances and find out what's going on with variable pumps, not just 5 pumps, but try like 10 pumps and stuff like that. So, but anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll show you another peek of the Daisy 35 here. There we go. I do share a lot of info on other videos about the Daisy 35 that go more into detail, but for you new people that might not be scrolling on my other videos on the Daisy 35, we've got a Weaver to 11 millimeter rail that's about it's about 5 inches long. So what I mean by Weaver to 11 millimeters, the top is Weaver and the bottom part is 11, so it can adapt on this 11 millimeter right here. And since this is plastic, you don't want to tighten it down too much. What I do when I tighten it is I move the rail with my hand back and forth and then tighten a little bit more, move it back and forth, tighten a little more, just to get it snug so it's not going to move. You don't want to over tighten these screws. Same thing here. You don't want to over tighten it because it doesn't kick. It's not like a Springer, so you don't have to worry about that. And then here's the 4x32 scope. One of the good things I've noticed about a 4x32 scope, even though typically me, the crosshairs, I can only see clearly usually the size of a dime at 25 yards, or that little bird silhouette target that I shoot. I noticed that at 40 yards with this one, this 4x32 seems to be really clear. So Beeman's got kind of a really clear looking scope here. So that when I put the crosshairs on the little bird, which is about the size of a dime, I can actually fit it in the crosshairs, because usually with 4x32 scopes, usually what happens is a dime will disappear and you can't find where it's at because the crosshairs are too big. And scopes come in duplex reticles. Sometimes they come in fine crosshair and sometimes thick crosshair. So you want to get the fine crosshair if you're going 4x32. But nothing wrong with the 4x32 scope, but you know, me, I'm kind of a fan of going 3 to 9 at least. So, but these are fun, you know, they're fun and cheap, you know. If a kid got a rifle like this, you know, even without this, you don't necessarily need the Weaver. This is just for red dot sights I like to put on here. But let's say you just bought a $20 4x32 scope and a $35 rifle. So it's like 35, 45, 55 bucks. You could be shooting, a kid could be shooting for that little amount, and then 500 pellets for $5. The Beeman wad cutters seem to work really good in this for a budget pellet. They're not going to group as good, but they'll come close sometimes. So 35, 45, 55. So what is that then? $65 you can get started for as little as 65 bucks for a new shooter. So, and they don't even have to pump it up 5 times. They can just shoot it at 15 yards or whatever and pump it up 2 times. You know, use pellets, and since it doesn't have a rifled barrel, you know, I use BBs and pellets in here and found that it doesn't mess up the accuracy or anything, so not yet at least. So if I'm going to use BBs, I'll use this one. I will not use the Daisy 880 for BBs because it has a rifled barrel. So I want to keep the accuracy in the Daisy 880. So, or what some of you can do is order 2 of them and just have one Daisy 880 for BBs and the other one just for pellets. You can do it that way too. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching, you guys. Appreciate your time watching the video.